Damwon and JDG, the two top seeds in Group B and two of the teams that are favored to win the entire World Championship. When looking at Group B, it's very hard to look past the fact that there are more teams than just these two. One team, the most dominant a team has ever been in the LCK, and one team only missing the best team in China by a Syndra stun. You feel bad for Rogue and PSG looking at this group, but if they set their goals on winning it for themselves, they have to beat these teams eventually anyways, so why not do it now?
A team of challengers to LCK champions. Damwon Gaming comes into Worlds on a hot streak. Damwon absolutely destroyed the LCK this year. Their average game time was more than 3 minutes faster than the league average, and along with their other insane stats, they ended the summer with a game record of 37-5, only dropping 2 series all summer to the other LCK representatives here at Worlds. After losing those 2 series, Damwon's game record has been 23-1, dropping 1 single game to Gen G. Damwon's star power comes from their solo laners. Showmaker is up for the title of best mid laner in Korea. He doesn't die to ganks, he will go even, if not he will be up in CS, and when the team fights start, he will outplay your carries. After the 42 games Showmaker played this summer, he ended with a 15.6 KDA, absolutely crushing the next highest in the LCK. Damwon's other shining star is Nuguri in the top lane. This guy is going to win his lane. With an average CS differential at 15 of 11.1 CS and an average gold diff at 15 of 1034, you can gank him, you might kill him, he'll come back and still have a CS lead. Maybe even solo kill the enemy top. Look for Canyon to play around him a lot, especially with an early Rift Herald, and expect a tower dive or two. Although these solo laners dominate the league, the standout player of the year for Damwon has to be Beryl. With his new lane partner, Beryl has been able to find success in lane and out of lane. This guy will find insane engages if given the chance, and he will break down any defense enemy teams put in front of their carries. These 3 players have grown since they entered the LCK, and they continue to grow as they now set their sights on an even bigger trophy. With the backing of Canyon and Ghost, they look to continue their speedrun of Season 10 on the world stage. LPL Spring Champions, 2nd place Summer. Currently, JDG is known to the Western world as just that, the 2nd seed coming out of China. The names behind top esports are much more well known, as Karsa and Jackie Love have been exposed to the world stage before, and Knight has gained quite a following. Exposure to these players allows fans to ignore the fact that over the course of the Spring and Summer Championships, JDG and top esports are now 5-5 against each other. When comparing JDG to top esports, a lot of people describe the two teams as the brains versus the brawn. But the largest slight towards JDG from the West comes from that comparison to top. While yes, JDG as a team is one of those teams that comes together to form something greater than the sum of its parts, that doesn't stop the individual players from being inches behind the best players of their roles. Spring Split MVP Kanavi is possibly the best jungler in the world. With the highest DPM from the jungle role in the LPL, Kanavi is going to look to be the 3rd carry of JDG. Expect him to be exactly where the action is during the early and mid game. Their solo laners can hold their own against any player in the world. If either of Yagao or Zoom is given an advantage from Kanavi, then they will take it and run away with the game. Early game for JDG usually focuses on the bot lane, picking a good lane for Loken and Lu Mao and letting them dominate, opening up the map more for Kanavi, Yagao, and Lu Mao to roam around together. And as the brawny big brainy team, JDG knows when they can fight. They work on having strong objective control by being able to win almost every team fight they fight in. All 5 players on this team are ready to follow up each other's plays. JDG is not just the 2nd seed coming out of China, and they are here to prove that they should be the favorites to win it all. The 1st place team of the regular season from Europe comes to Worlds to prove to their fans and the world that Europe isn't just about Fnatic versus G2 anymore. Rogue lands in one of the scariest groups of the tournament, having to face 2 of the tournament's favorites. But Rogue has taken down the favorites of a league before. Hansama makes his return to Worlds hoping to carry on the torch of Misfits with this Rogue roster. With Vindu at his side, Hansama has calmed down a bit from when we've last seen him here. The laners are quite passive in the 2v2, not forcing fights, but also not dying to ganks often. And yet, every now and then the team will let him have his fun with picks like Kalista, and he is still ready to pull out the Draven when called upon. Rogue is going to look to win games through their macro play and their team fighting. They will look to zone teams from objectives and early towers. Inspired will look to farm up, and while he can find ganks top sometimes, don't be too surprised when Rogue lane swaps to secure more gold onto Hansama. Larson is Rogue's top performer in fights. He plays with the aggression of a rookie with the confidence of a veteran. Throughout the season, he became very known for picks like Azir and Corki, the type of champions that will output a lot of damage in a fight if given the space to do so. But put him on champions like Akali, and watch as he finds his way into the enemy's backline, deleting their carries. The weak point for this team is their top laner Finn. Finn ended the summer with the third highest DPM from top laners in the LEC, so once the team groups and the team fights start, Finn is going to be able to perform and do what he's called to do. But Rogue does not focus their draft for Finn very often. Rogue focuses more on finding a good jungler for Inspired, a strong bot lane duo, and a good matchup for Larson, leaving Finn to pick often blindly. This leads to him having a very weak lane phase, averaging negative 11.6 CS at 15. If Finn can evade the early pressure from enemy top laners, and Rogue can line their pockets full of gold, they could steal a few games away from the Titans of Group B.
PSG Talon comes into World's group stage after playing with a substitute mid and jungle duo laner, and everyone is wondering, will this group stage PSG be weaker than the play-ins roster we have watched so far? Before we get into that, let's talk about the players we have seen play. Unified and Kaiwing are the players PSG plays through the most. The two are usually seen hand in hand walking around Summoner's Rift until they find the enemy AD carry. Expect the duo to punish that AD carry when their support thinks that they have found a really good roam timing. Hanabi has a very specific role on PSG, team punching bag. Even with an entirely different mid and jungle duo, Hanabi has only been involved in the first bloods during play-ins when he is the one dying. He doesn't get any attention in the lane and is expected to be able to survive on his own, since PSG would rather play around their bot lane. And now I'll admit it right here, I have not watched the PSC for the entire season. I do not know much about the history of the players in the region, nor the rivalries or any of the matchups. Uniboy and Konbanwa have performed extremely well for PSG in the play-ins. River and Tank were able to outperform both of them when matched up in playoffs against each other. Unfortunately for them, River and Tank will have to prove they are better than their replacements by performing against players like Hanavi and Showmaker. Since we will only get to see them against the top caliber of players, it'll be very difficult to judge if PSG is worse off with their own players. Minimize how hard Hanabi will fall behind top lane and accelerate the game for Unified. That is the game plan PSG is going to come into these games with. Giving Unified and Kaiwing a bot lane that can dominate, and letting them put the team on their shoulders is how PSG can look to bring down Group B. PSG and Rogue both play a slower style than Damwon, and if they can somehow find the timings they need, getting items on the carries that need it, they could take a few games away. JDG is capable and perhaps even prefers a slower game state, so unless Rogue and PSG can find creative ways to create advantages, the slow game will not bring them much closer to wins against JDG. Unfortunately for every team in this group, Damwon's got places to be, and people who predict that Damwon and JDG will go 1-1 are pretty boring, so I expect Damwon to go 6-0. Hey, if you like this video, share it with anyone you think might enjoy it. I'm going to try my hardest to get videos out for Group C today and Group D tomorrow morning. So, yeah, if I do that, that would be great. If I don't, I don't know. I did my best. Yep, and thank you guys for watching.